Hey guys! Tonight we drift into the pale haze of paper lanterns, incense smoke curling through wooden rafters, footsteps soft along tatami mats. You trail behind a slow-moving procession of silk-robed figures under the flickering amber of oil lamps. The alley is narrow. The rain has just stopped. Water still drips from the eaves in rhythmic taps. A faint shamisen echoes from deeper inside the district. The air smells like plum wine and powdered sandalwood. You follow the footsteps of someone who lives here, breathes here, never really leaves here. The floating world, that's what they call it. Ukiyo. It means world in flux, world of fleeting pleasures, world apart. But it isn't heaven. It's a sealed-off district in Edo, what you now call Tokyo, where laws bend and time curls back on itself. Inside this space, courtesans entertain, seduce, and endure. Their lives unfold behind painted walls, beneath layers of silk, inside rules thicker than any samurai code. And yes, you probably won't survive this place. Not if you're poor, not if you're honest, not if you're pregnant. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is it where you are? Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're walking through the Yoshiwara district in the year 1751. The entrance is marked by a checkpoint guarded by men with ledgers. You present your name, your business, and you wait. Every visitor is registered. Everyone coming in is recorded. The street is lined with high wooden walls to keep the sights discreet. You pass through and find yourself in another world. Night has fallen, but everything glows. Red lanterns swing above tea houses. You hear bells, laughter, and the rustle of paper fans. Men in fine kimonos lean against lacquered posts. The ground beneath your feet is soft-packed dirt, bordered by wooden walkways. The women appear behind wooden grates. These aren't windows, they're display cages. Behind them sit courtesans arranged in tiers like merchandise. The lower-ranked ones are loud waving. The higher-ranked ones are still unmoving like portraits. Their hair is lacquered into sculptural shapes. Their lips are painted into tiny crimson ovals. They do not smile. They wait. You see the oiran. She is the highest-ranking courtesan. She walks with 2 attendants. Her robes are layered 12 pounds of silk or more. Her sandals are tall, clacking like hooves on the street. She walks slowly. Not out of dignity, but because the shoes are nearly impossible to walk in. Her obi or sash is tied in the front, a subtle signal that she is not a wife. She pauses at an intersection. People bow. No one speaks to her. You're not supposed to speak unless spoken to. This is not just a red light district. It is an institution. It is legal. It is regulated. And it is built to trap the people inside it. To become a courtesan, you are usually sold as a child. Maybe by poor parents, maybe by an uncle. You are told you'll be a maid. You arrive at age 8 or 10. You begin as a kamuro, a child assistant. You clean dress dolls, watch the older girls. You sleep on straw and cry into borrowed pillows. When you're older, you become a shinzo, an apprentice. You learn to play music, serve tea, recite poetry, apply makeup, and walk without sound. Only after years of service do you become a full courtesan. You do not choose this. The house chooses you. Every night you prepare. The face comes first. White powder, thick and heavy, is brushed over your cheeks and forehead. Your eyebrows are darkened. Your lips are painted into tiny symmetrical shapes. The eyes are accented with red pigment. None of it is comfortable. It itches. It burns. You do not complain. Your hair is styled once every 5 days. It is waxed and combed into elaborate configurations. You sleep with your neck on a wooden block to preserve it. If it collapses, you are punished. You are trained not to move in your sleep. You are trained to smile through pain. Your kimono is selected for color and meaning. Pink for youth, red for power, indigo for elegance. Your sleeves are long, dragging the floor. Your collar is wide, showing the nape of your neck, considered the most erotic part of a woman's body in Edo, Japan. Not legs, not arms, just the neck, pale and bare. You wait for a client. He might be a samurai. He might be a merchant. He might be wealthy enough to buy time with you, but not always smart enough to deserve it. He enters your room with fanfare. You bow low. You pour tea. You sing. You perform poetry. Maybe you dance. You do not immediately touch. That is not how this works. The highest courtesans sell time, not just flesh. Every evening blurs into ritual. You kneel on hard mats. You fold paper cranes. You write letters you'll never send. You eat meals in silence served in stacked lacquer boxes. Fish, pickles, rice, soup. You wear perfume made of crushed iris roots. You burn incense that smells like cedar. You hold in your coughs. One girl down the hall is sick. She coughs blood. You hear her sometimes in the night. You are 19. You have seen 4 apprentices disappear this year. One married a customer. One fled and was dragged back. One bled out in the bath. One no one speaks of. The house has rules. You obey them. Outside, the rain begins again. You listen as the water hits the shutters. A bell rings. Another client. You adjust your robe. You stand. You glide. And still somewhere far from here, historians argue whether courtesans were truly artists or victims, entrepreneurs, or property. No agreement. Just footnotes. Just speculation. But you do not have time for theory. You are lighting the lamp. You are preparing tea. You are smoothing the fold of your sleeve as the door slides open. Your evening has begun. You're still in the floating world, but now you notice the hierarchy around you, the layers within. Layers, the strict ranking system that governs everything, even how you breathe. Every glance, every whisper, every color worn, none of it is accidental. You've been trained to understand this silent order. At the bottom are the streetwalkers. They lean against walls under thin shawls, waiting in the shadows of alley corners. Their hair is loosely tied, their kimonos thin and frayed. They smile quickly, speak faster, and disappear just as fast. These are not officially part of the registered brothel system. They're often illegal. They operate in the outskirts, taking what they can. A copper coin here, a bowl of soup there. Some sleep on the temple steps. You walk past them without stopping. Then come the lower-ranked girls of the licensed district. They live in cramped quarters behind the viewing windows. Their rank is mid-tier enough to afford color in their wardrobe, but not enough for poetry lessons. They are allowed to advertise themselves, wave at passing customers, even giggle behind a fan. Their job is to entice. They speak less elegantly, but they work more often. A busy girl can take 5 to 8 clients a night. Her room is small, her futon thin. She shares a dressing mirror with 3 others. Her name may change weekly depending on what the house thinks sells better. Sometimes she's called Spring, sometimes Cloud, sometimes Cherry. You pass these rooms without pausing. Then you come to the houses of the Taiyu and Oiran, the top-tier courtesans. Their rooms are larger. Their kimonos weigh more. They are not displayed in windows. They are not permitted to speak first. Their customers must send gifts, letters, formal requests. The process may take months or years. To see an oiran is a ceremony. The house arranges the meeting. You, the customer, must bring offerings. Rare incense, a roll of silk coins wrapped in tissue. You are evaluated, your speech, your handwriting, your behavior at the gate. Only if the house approves do you get a reply. The oiran arrives flanked by 2 Komuro attendants. She wears multiple robes with golden thread, her hair rising high above her head like a sculpted flame. She doesn't bow to you. She sits slightly above you. Her voice is slow and low. You are expected to behave as if in the presence of royalty. She pours your tea with 2 fingers. She never spills. Your time with her does not begin with intimacy. It begins with games, cards, poetry contests, musical performances. This is what you pay for. The illusion, the effortlessness of elegance. She does not touch you, not for many meetings. And when she does, you are not allowed to boast. The oiran is not a prostitute. She is an actress, a scholar, a musician, a businesswoman, and a symbol. She performs the role of unattainable desire. You never really own her, even when she lies beside you. Her name is carefully chosen, often inspired by flowers, seasons, or classical literature. Her letters are calligraphic masterpieces. Her perfume is custom blended by the house. Her sandals are made to clack loudly, not for stealth, but to announce her presence. If you hear that clacking in the hallway, you step aside. Every rank has rules, many unspoken. Mid-tier courtesans can eat with customers. High-tier ones never eat in public. Lower-tier girls share laundry. Upper-tier girls have assigned attendants for bathing, dressing, and hairstyling. Some girls are punished with fines, others with silent treatment. The worst punishment is demotion. If you fail as an oiran, you may return to the viewing cage. You do not want to return to the cage. Some courtesans become famous. Their faces are painted on fans. Their names are whispered in kabuki theaters. Poets mention them in verses about moonlight and longing. These women are watched by house mothers, guarded like investments. Their freedom is an illusion. The higher they rise, the tighter the grip. You see a shinzo, an apprentice, following her senior down the hallway. She walks 3 steps behind, eyes lowered, hands clasped. She is not allowed to wear color yet. Her sleeves are short, her collar plain. But she watches everything. She notices every gesture. Her job is to memorize. She is preparing for the test, her debut night. It's called the Misadashi. It marks the moment when she is first introduced as a working courtesan. The house arranges everything: the hair, the robe, the gifts. She is displayed in full view, sitting motionless for hours. Her name is changed. Her price is set. The house celebrates. But it is also the end of her childhood. Every level up means a deeper contract, a higher debt, an expectation to earn. Some girls never rise. Others rise too fast and burn out. You've seen it before. A girl who can't maintain her charm, who gets sick, who grows old too quickly. Her hair thins. Her posture slumps. Her value decreases. And in this world, your value is everything. You once saw an Oiran fall on the stairs. Her sandal twisted. She tumbled. No one helped her up. She lay there quietly for 10 seconds, then stood, smiled, and continued walking. Her robe was torn. Her lip bled slightly. But she said nothing. That was 3 years ago. She's gone now. Historians still debate whether the ranking system protected courtesans from exploitation or merely organized it into a more palatable form. The contracts were legal. The houses were inspected. But beneath the layers of silk was still a girl who belonged to someone else. You wonder what rank you would hold. Not everyone wants to rise. Some girls stay low on purpose. Less pressure. Fewer clients. Fewer expectations. The high-ranking women may seem powerful, but they are watched constantly. Their time is not their own. Their words are weighed. A single insult, a raised voice, an ill-timed cough, any of these could ruin them. The houses are quiet now. It's late. You hear a shamisen being tuned behind one of the walls. A courtesan practices her notes, fingers trembling from fatigue. Another girl sews a sleeve by oil lamp. The house mother walks silently down the corridor with a bookkeeping scroll. Someone's been fined again. And you, walking through it all, observe this world stacked like a lacquered box. Rank upon rank. Each one painted with beauty, but hiding cost beneath. Your feet ache. Your robe feels heavier than before. The lanterns flicker. You take one last glance at the hallway of closed doors. Tomorrow it begins again. You wake just before twilight, though sleep never really came. The air is cold. The paper windows are stained with damp shadows. One of the younger girls, barely 15, tiptoes through the room carrying buckets of water. She doesn't speak. No one speaks before the house mother calls roll. Your back aches from the wooden pillow. Your hair feels stiff, still bound by wax and pins. You didn't move all night. That's how you're trained. If your hair collapses in sleep, you pay a fine. 1 full silver coin docked from your month's earnings. So you learn to lie still, very still. It's time to get ready. This is not like dressing for an evening out. This is a military operation. There are steps, orders, timed movements. Everything must look effortless, but nothing is. You begin with a basin of cold water. There's no bath today, only a cloth. You dab your face, your neck, your arms. You rub a slice of citrus peel under each arm, not for scent, but to reduce perspiration. No one likes a courtesan who sweats. The customers never see this part. Next, the face. A white paste made from rice powder and crushed oyster shell is applied in layers with a broad, flat brush. You tilt your chin and breathe through your mouth. The smell is sharp, vinegary. You do not blink. The white covers everything, forehead, cheeks, even your ears. You leave a small strip at your hairline bare. A signal that this isn't a mask, but a tradition. Then the eyes. You use charcoal to outline your lids. Red pigment traces just beneath a flick of color meant to mimic tears. Beauty in this world is measured by sadness. A courtesan must always look as though she's about to weep, yet never actually does. You darken your brows with soot and oil. You paint your lips with safflower paste, then press them to a strip of paper. 2 small symmetrical petals remain. These are not lips for speaking. These are lips for glancing downward in silence. The wig is next. Yours is made from real hair threaded over a lacquered wooden base. It weighs nearly 5 pounds. You do not wear it without help. A dresser arrives silent and efficient. She anchors the wig to your head with combs and cords. If she pulls too hard, you say nothing. A bruised scalp is better than an undone knot. Into the wig go pins, ornaments, beads, a silver fan, a red comb. Each item signals your rank. Lower girls wear wood. You wear gold because your house wants to attract merchants with full purses. The combs are polished until they reflect candlelight. You glance once in the mirror. You don't recognize yourself. Now the robe. It takes 2 attendants to help you into it. The fabric is thick silk lined with brocade, embroidered with cranes, plum blossoms, clouds. The sleeves trail the floor. The collar is wide. It's folded back to expose the curve of your spine. The obi, the sash, wraps 3 times around your waist and ties in front. Not behind like a wife. Always in front where it's easy to untie. Your feet go into tall wooden sandals. 2 platforms, painted red underneath. These are not made for speed. They're made for spectacle. You walk with short, careful steps. Your balance must be perfect. If you fall, you pay. If you scuff the sandals, you pay. If the customer notices a wrinkle in your robe, you pay. You descend the stairs slowly, head high. The other girls are assembling in the common room. Some practice the shamisen. Others write short poems to be folded into customers' gift boxes. The younger ones scrub the floors. The house mother walks among you with a scroll and brush. She murmurs names and marks your status for the evening. You're marked for a full appointment, a regular client, a merchant. His name is Goto. He likes sweet, sake, quiet voices, and girls who can recite basho from memory. You've studied the poem he'll expect. You've practiced saying it slowly. Downstairs, the cook prepares your tray. You're allowed 3 bites of pickled radish, a spoon of rice, and tea. No more. Courtesans must never seem gluttonous. You eat with 2 fingers, wiping your mouth between each bite. The house smells like perfume and ash. As the sun sets, the lanterns are lit. A girl outside sweeps the front steps with a bamboo broom. You hear the distant cry of a hawker selling roasted chestnuts. A dog barks. Then silence. The night begins. The client arrives with gifts. Wrapped boxes of incense, a fan painted with waves, a silk handkerchief. You do not touch them until the house mother nods. Goto bows. You bow deeper. He removes his sandals. You lead him to the room. You pour tea. You kneel. You compliment his howery coat. You mention the moonlight. You laugh once delicately behind your sleeve. Goto eats. He drinks. He begins to talk about his shop, his sons, his pain. You listen. That is your real work. He does not notice that your knees have gone numb, that your foot is asleep, that your fingers burn from the hot teapot. He never sees those parts. Later he will ask for music. You will play the shamisen until your arms ache. He will request a poem. You'll recite it slowly, eyes on the floor. He will sigh and lean back. You'll tuck the incense into your robe to give the house later. You'll fold the silk gift into your chest box, where you keep all the things you're not allowed to keep. And if he asks for more, you will oblige. There is a small cut on your ankle from where your sandal pinched earlier. It bleeds into your sock. You ignore it. In the next room, a girl is crying, quietly, into her sleeve. This is normal. Historians still argue whether these nightly rituals empowered the courtesans by giving them control over their art, or simply reduced them to living mannequins, painted dolls in elaborate cages. You wipe away a stray tear, real or imagined. The line is blurry now. Your shift ends near dawn. Goto leaves quietly. You walk back upstairs. The robe comes off. The pins are pulled. The wig is removed. Your scalp throbs. You lie on the wooden pillow again and wait for the bell that signals it's time to do it all again. You don't own your time. You rent it to strangers. When a customer like Goto wants to see you again, he must submit a formal request. He sends a note or sometimes a folded silk handkerchief. The message goes first to the house mother. She reads it, she smells it, she decides whether you'll even be told. If she approves, she sends a messenger to respond. Everything goes through the house. You belong to them, not him. He must follow rules. He cannot just arrive. He must pay a reservation fee. Sometimes he waits weeks, sometimes months. If he's a new customer, the wait is longer. First, he must prove he's not violent, not poor, not disrespectful. The house screens him by looking at his handwriting, the quality of his gifts, and even how he ties his sandals. If he passes, he becomes a regular. That comes with obligations. You do not go to him. He must come to the pleasure district. He must pass the checkpoint. He must wear the right robe. He must leave his weapons outside. Samurai are allowed, but they must promise not to draw their swords. There are guards posted in case they forget. You wait inside. When his name is called, you prepare. This is called the Agaya system appointment-only entertainment. No walk-ins, no shouting on the street, no drinking contests in public. The high-ranked girls like you operate on schedule. Customers do not pay for the hour. They pay for the possibility of intimacy. Some never receive it. The men who see you regularly develop attachments. But it's an illusion. They believe you love them. They believe you are only waiting for the right moment to confess it. You feed that belief. You write them poems. You give them nicknames. You remember details about their sister's wedding, their dog's name, their favorite tea. But you also do this with 3 other clients. You become a mirror. Whatever they need, you reflect it. If they want laughter, you smile. If they want sorrow, you sigh. If they want a mother, a daughter, a wife, or a ghost, you become it. Goto begins to send you more gifts. Silk sleeves, bottles of plum wine, hairpins with jade tips. One day he arrives with a ledger and tells you he's saving to buy you out. The phrase is miyuke. It means to be redeemed. It means he'll pay your debt to the house. You'll be free, maybe even married. But it is not simple. Your debt is massive. Years of training, clothing costs, hair stylists, food, fines. Even your makeup is itemized. The house keeps strict books. If your debt is 60 gold Rio, he must pay 60. If you're popular, they raise the price. You might be worth 100 or 120. You never see the ledger. You only hear whispers. Customers who promise redemption often disappear. Their savings vanish. Their shops burn down. Their wives find out. You have learned not to trust promises made after midnight. Still, Goto continues to visit. He buys longer appointments. He sends flowers from outside the city. One day, he weeps. You hold his hand as he cries about his brother's death. He falls asleep in your lap. You stay awake, watching the candle melt down to a puddle of wax. He leaves before dawn. You fold the handkerchief he left and tuck it behind your mirror. You hear other girls talk. Some were bought out. One now sells incense in the countryside. Another became a monk. A third was seen last year sweeping the floor of a distant bathhouse, still wearing old makeup like a mask she can't remove. Very few are actually married. The contract between courtesan and client is not legal marriage. Even if he buys your freedom, you are not equal. His family may reject you. His neighbors may laugh. His children may never speak your name. Still, many girls dream of miyuki. It is the only way out without disgrace. Customers also change over time. Some become cruel. One merchant grew possessive. When his courtesan spoke to another client, he smashed her room's lacquer screen. The house expelled him, but she lost privileges for failing to manage his emotions. It's always your fault. That same week you get sick. It starts with a sore throat, then a fever, then blood in your spit. You are moved to the sick room. You lie on a straw mat with a damp cloth over your forehead. No one visits. Meals are left by the door. You hear footsteps pass, but no one stops. After 3 days, you recover. The house deducts the medicine cost from your earnings. You ask no questions. Back in your room, you find a letter from Goto. He noticed your absence. He worried. He missed your voice. He sends you a small bell tied with string. You hang it in the window. It chimes softly in the breeze. And yet, historians still argue whether these arrangements were sincere or transactional, whether the courtesans manipulated their clients, or if the clients simply bought a version of love that hurt less than real life. Either way, the results are the same. You return to your routine. The white makeup, the stiff wig, the sharp combs. You learn to smile through ulcers. You learn to laugh through betrayal. You write poems in the margins of your customer ledger. One reads, "The crane dances late, but still the snow keeps falling, soft and without end." You don't know what it means, but it feels true. In the hallway, The sandals of another courtesan clack slowly past. She's been requested tonight. A new client, a samurai with gold teeth and rough hands. She'll do what you've done. She'll bow. She'll serve tea. She'll pretend she's not afraid. And in the end, he'll leave. They always leave. You sit still, hands folded in your lap, trying not to shift your weight. The obi tied across your abdomen presses tighter today. Your breathing is shallow. You feel it. The small shift, the tired ache, the way your body tenses at the wrong time. You know the signs now. You've seen them before. You're pregnant. You cannot tell anyone. In the pleasure districts, pregnancy is not celebrated. It is not public. It is not part of the illusion. Courtesans are not supposed to change. They do not age. They do not bleed. They certainly do not bear children. That is not what the customers pay for. But pregnancies happen. There are no protective spells, no enchanted silks. Despite layers of ritual and etiquette, despite all the rules and hierarchy, biology persists. Some girls are careful. Some are lucky. But some are simply caught in the cycle. Your body doesn't ask your permission. You feel a wave of nausea. You breathe through it. Outside, the paper screens glow gold from the setting sun. You nod politely as another girl brings you tea. She doesn't know. Or maybe she does, but she won't say anything. The first step is always secrecy. You skip your turn with the customer. You claim a headache, or a fever, or an unfortunate rash. The house mother frowns, but accepts it. For now, you return to your quarters and lie on your side. You count your pulse. You remember the midwife's advice. Ginger root, licorice, ground mugwort. These are the first tools. The oldest courtesans pass the knowledge down in whispers wrapped in cloth, hidden in sleeves. You make a weak tea with the herbs. You drink slowly. The bitterness coats your tongue. It won't work immediately. Sometimes it doesn't work at all. There are other methods. A piece of silk soaked in vinegar is pressed inside. A stone is warmed and rested on the abdomen. A mixture of red pepper and lotus seeds is eaten before bed. Nothing is certain. Everything is risky. Still, it's better than discovery. Because if the house finds out, your status drops. If the pregnancy becomes visible, you're removed from the viewing room. Your name is erased from the ledger. Your silk robes are taken back. The jewelry disappears. Your meals shrink. You become a burden. No one will admit it, but the fear is there. Some girls are sent away. Others are relocated to rural bathhouses or temple wards. Some return months later pale and silent, never speaking of what happened. You ask no questions. If the pregnancy continues, you seek a different kind of help. The old woman in the alley 3 blocks away. She lives near the incense shop. No sign on her door, no name. She used to be a midwife. Maybe. No one's sure. But she helps courtesans. You go at night in disguise. A plain robe. Hair unpinned. You knock once, then twice. She opens the door and squints. She sees your eyes. She doesn't ask your name. She just steps aside. Inside it's warm. You smell herbs, old wood animal fat. A kettle whistles. She pours something into a bowl. Not tea, something darker, stronger. You drink. It burns. She tells you to lie down. Her hands are rough but careful. She presses your belly. She mutters. She nods. You have time, she says. Maybe 2 months. You nod back. You pay in coins, the ones hidden in your shoe sole. She wraps dried herbs in paper and slips them into your sleeve. Drink this each day, she says. Don't run. Don't lift. You thank her. You never return. Some girls hide the pregnancy for months. They wear looser robes. They feign stomach pains to avoid dancing. They lean forward when they walk, shoulders hunched. The makeup helps. Pale faces reveal no flush. The dim light hides a swelling belly. And the clients, they never notice. Or if they do, they don't speak. They enjoy the illusion too much. Some clients know they're the father. They say nothing. Some send money. Others disappear. Occasionally one offers help, but it's rare. Goto doesn't know, or pretends not to. He still brings gifts, still writes letters, still says he's saving. You don't answer anymore. At night you listen to the wind outside. You feel the fluttering inside your body. A shift. A movement. Not kicks yet. Just motion. You place your hand on your belly. You wonder what it will look like. Who it will become. If it will live. And then you wonder what you'll do. Because eventually you must decide. Some girls choose the temple path. There are orphanages disguised as shrines. Nuns who take the child in exchange for silence. No records. No names. Just a bundle passed at dusk through a wooden gate. You've heard of it. You've even seen it done. Last spring, a girl named Ume did it. She returned 2 days later with red eyes and no words. She never spoke of it. But she wore a small pouch after that filled with white pebbles. For protection. Or remembrance. Other girls try to raise the child themselves. Rare but not impossible. A nursemaid is hired in secret. The child lives in a nearby building. The courtesan visits between appointments, slipping out with coins or rice cakes. She brings toys, leaves before dawn, pretends nothing has changed. But it doesn't last. Children are noisy, messy, needy. Eventually, someone finds out. The house mother demands answers. The child disappears. Sometimes the girl is sent away. Sometimes she stays colder than before. And still historians argue about this part. They wonder if brothel owners ever protected the children. If secret arrangements were made. If midwives kept ledgers. No records remain. Only rumors. You don't know what you'll do yet. The weeks pass. The symptoms grow. You move slower. You speak less. The other girls notice, but they look away. No one wants trouble. They've all seen this before. In the hallway, a young Shinzo watches you. Her eyes are wide. She doesn't speak. But she watches everything. You remember being her once. Outside, the bell rings. A client has arrived. Not for you. Not tonight. You're unavailable. A polite word for something unspeakable. You lie on your mat and fold your hands over your belly. You whisper to the room. No one hears. The room is darker than usual. You asked for the lantern to be turned low. Outside wind moves through the narrow alleyway. The paper shutters rustle. You lie still on the mat, knees drawn up, hands trembling under the robe. The pain comes in waves now, low and deep, like something pulling at the center of you. You're not alone. The midwife kneels beside you. She is older, silent, with a face carved by years of secrets. Her fingers are stained with herb ash. Her voice barely rises above a whisper. She doesn't comfort. She instructs. The girl beside her is younger and assistant. She folds cloths, heats water, wipes your face when sweat rolls down. The room is small, hidden. Not part of the house's official layout. A former storage space behind the laundry door. Dusty shelves line the walls, stacked with bowls, cords, paper fans. Nothing clean, nothing sterile. But it is private. You weren't supposed to need this room. No one talks about it, not out loud. But it's always been here. Used when necessary, forgotten afterward. The pain sharpens. You press your fist against your mouth. You don't scream. You don't want them to hear you down the hall. There are no prayers, no chants, just instructions. Breathe now. Hold here. Not yet. A cloth is placed between your teeth. The midwife works quickly, murmuring as she checks the progress. Her hands move with practiced rhythm. She does not flinch at the blood. The younger girl does. But she continues. It takes hours. Your vision blurs. You count the shadows on the ceiling to stay awake. You think of plum blossoms. You think of Basho's poetry. You think of the child's face, though you've never seen it. And then it's over. A cry, thin and unsure, fills the room. The midwife wraps the infant in cloth. She does not speak. She does not say the gender. You are too weak to ask. The girl places a warm towel on your forehead. The pain has not stopped, but the worst part is done. You feel empty, and yet heavy. The child is alive, for now. The midwife murmurs something to her assistant and stands. She begins to clean. You hear water being poured. You hear the creak of wood. The floor is slick. Blood pools quietly on the boards. It will be scrubbed away by morning. You close your eyes. Time passes in fragments. At some point, the child is taken from your side. The room grows colder. The lantern is trimmed lower. Someone drapes a blanket over you. The smell of herbs lingers. You hear the door slide open, then closed. When you wake again, the room is empty. There is a bowl of soup beside you. It is cold. The rice has thickened into paste. You drink it anyway. Your throat hurts. You can't remember how long it's been. Your hands tremble as you reach for your sash. Your robe has been changed. The child is gone. You don't ask where. You know better. Maybe to the temple. Maybe to a nursemaid's hut down the alley. Maybe to someone who owes the house a favor. Maybe nowhere. These things are never explained. One girl said her child was sent to a fishing village. Another claimed hers was raised by a carpenter's widow. Another never spoke of it again. They all returned to work. So will you. The house mother appears at your door later that day. She carries a scroll and an expression you can't read. She doesn't scold. She doesn't ask. She marks something down. She leaves a robe folded neatly at your feet, a pale blue one, not silk. You've been reassigned. For the next week you remain in this hidden room. You do not see clients. You drink bitter tea. You walk slowly only when the pain subsides. Your breasts ache. You wake with chills. No one brings flowers. Eventually you return to the common quarters. The girls do not ask questions. They make space for you at the brazier. One offers you her share of dried persimmons. Another places a cushion behind your back when you sit. Small kindnesses, that's all. You wear a robe with a darker sash now. Your collar is higher. Your hair is simpler. You walk slower on purpose. You feign weakness even when strength returns. No one wants to see you healthy too fast. It would raise suspicion. The customers are told you had a lung fever. They accept it. Goto writes again. He noticed your absence. He sends sugar candy and a poem. You do not reply. You're not ready. Some girls pretend it never happened. Others keep tiny mementos, a lock of hair, a bracelet, a folded kimono sleeve. You keep nothing. But sometimes at night you think of the weight in your arms. The cry. The way the cloth felt against your cheek. And you wonder. Historians still debate the role of childbirth within the courtesan world. Some say it was hidden entirely. Others argue that midwives were paid informally by the houses to maintain discretion. There are few records, few names, mostly footnotes in dusty registers. You do not appear in any of them. The pain fades. The bleeding stops. You walk upright again. You return to makeup, to powdered skin and red-dusted eyes. The robe is a little tighter than before. You eat less to compensate. Soon you're back in the viewing room. You sit behind the wooden lattice still and composed. A customer walks by. Another. A third. None of them pause. Then someone does. It's Goto. He recognizes you. He smiles. You lower your eyes. You smile too, because now more than ever, the illusion must remain perfect. Days pass, and with them silence. No one mentions the child. The midwife is gone. The room where you labored is sealed again. Dust returns to the shelves. The house mother offers no explanations. You resume your duties with practiced calm, but something in your step is different. Lighter in some moments, heavier in others. Not everyone notices. But you do. A week later, you see a girl barely 15 standing quietly by the back exit. She holds a parcel, wrapped in cloth, pressed tight to her chest. Her eyes are swollen. She doesn't speak. She waits. You know what's inside. You've seen that walk. You've held that parcel. The house mother stands nearby, arms folded. A boy arrives with a small cart. He doesn't look at the girl. She places the bundle inside, slowly, gently, then walks back into the house without a word. The boy pulls the cart away. You watch it disappear into the misted alley. That's how it happens. That's how they go. Temple orphanages. That's the phrase. The polite one. Some courtesans say the temples care for the children, that the nuns sing lullabies, comb hair, and serve rice porridge. Others say the orphans are moved again, sent to workhouses or farms. No records confirm either version, and you never see the same boy with the cart twice. One girl claims she saw her child years later sweeping the steps at a distant shrine. She never spoke to him. He didn't look up. She just stood watching until the house called her name. Another girl insists hers was adopted by a traveling poet, that he sends letters, poems tucked inside updates written in code. The house mother rolls her eyes at the story, but no one dares challenge it. Most girls say nothing at all, because sometimes the child doesn't make it. If the pregnancy is hidden too long, if the birth comes early, if there's no midwife nearby, if the weather is too cold, if the room is too dirty, if something simply goes wrong. And when that happens, the child is buried. Not in a graveyard, not in ceremony, quietly, in the earth behind the bathhouse, or beneath a willow tree near the canal. The cloth is wrapped tight. The bundle is lowered with care. A few stones are placed. No marker, no name. A girl once planted violets over the spot. They bloomed late that year. You remember her. Her hair was always too thin. She never made full courtesan. She left one winter, never returned. But the flowers came back the following spring. That's what remains. The ledgers kept by the brothel contain numbers, names, earnings, deductions, fines. But not the children. Never the children. They don't belong on paper. Sometimes the house arranges something else. A client with money, influence, discretion. He agrees to take the child in exchange for silence. A merchant's cousin. A widow with no heirs. A priest with debt to repay. You don't get to choose. A girl named Natsu was told her child had been placed. She nodded. She didn't ask where. Later that week, she burned a strip of her old kimono and scattered the ashes in the garden. The customers never find out. Or they pretend not to know. They return with laughter and gifts. They compliment your hair, your calligraphy, your voice. They never mention the days you were gone, the robe you wore to cover swelling, the paleness of your face. Goto returns again. He brings a new incense, one with sandalwood and clove. He sits quietly this time. Less talk, more staring out the window. You pour tea. You recite a verse. He asks if you're well. You say yes. He doesn't press. You remember something the house mother once said to a new girl. The illusion must remain unbroken. If they believe, they pay. If they doubt, they leave. So you keep the illusion. Every day you see the same patterns, the sandals, the powder, the bells at sunset. But now you watch more closely. You notice the way one girl clutches her sleeve, the way another avoids rice, the way a third ties her sash a little higher. You know what those signs mean? You've joined a secret lineage, not a club, not a sisterhood, but a pattern, a repetition, the kind that spans generations but never makes the scrolls. Historians still argue about it. Some say courtesans were forbidden from keeping children. Others claim some houses allowed it quietly in corners with enough bribes. A few reports mention nursery rooms, though no proof remains. Everything passed in whispers, nothing on paper. You carry your version in silence. In the evenings, you sit by the window. You listen for the cartwheels in the alley. Sometimes you hear them, sometimes not. On quiet nights, you touch the bell Goto gave you. It still chimes. You keep it hidden under your robe now. A small sound, a small memory. And sometimes just before sleep, you dream of a child's hand in yours, walking through a plum orchard, blossoms falling like soft snow. No voices, just footsteps, just light. Then you wake, and the makeup goes on, and the wig is pinned, and the house bell rings, and you smile, because in this place only the performance remains. The bell rings at dusk. You are expected to return. You press your palm against your belly out of habit, but the swell is gone now. Only muscle and memory remain. You dress slowly. Today your robe is darker, not the soft pinks and lilacs of the higher courtesans, but navy blue with a faint chrysanthemum pattern, a sign of modesty, recovery. The house wants you back in circulation, but not too soon. Your appearance must match the story: an illness, a rest, nothing more. Your feet slide into tall sandals. Your hair is gathered loosely, not in the full sculpted style yet. You are in transition, what the house calls maternity rhythm, a temporary role, a visible half-return. They let you move slowly. You limp slightly as you walk. The customers will notice but say nothing. A girl walking with a limp is mysterious. She becomes more human, more tragic. Some find it alluring. Others feel sorry. Either way, it draws them closer. You are not required to sit behind the viewing grate tonight. Instead, you are assigned to tea service, quiet movements, simple gestures. Bow, pour, smile, retreat. This is your maternity leave. But it is not rest, not truly. You rise before sunrise. You sweep corridors with a stiff bristled broom. You carry trays. You polish sandals with a cloth. You memorize guest names and preferred incense brands. You boil water for the sick girl 2 rooms down. She has the same look you had 3 months ago. Drawn cheeks, lowered eyes. You don't ask. She doesn't speak. There is an understanding among girls like you. You wrap your breasts tighter now. The milk came and went. You woke once drenched, pressing cold cloths to your chest to reduce the pain. You remember biting your sleeve to keep from crying out. That night, no one came to check on you. The next morning, you folded your robe and reported to the kitchen. The house mothers do not ask questions. They nod at your work. They whisper when you pass, noting your posture, your silence, your efficiency. You overhear one say you've matured. It's meant as praise. You are promoted, not in rank but in responsibility. You are assigned to oversee 2 apprentices, young girls with tired hands and curious eyes. You teach them how to grind tea leaves, how to fold a fan without creasing it, how to walk without sound. You show them how to smile with the eyes only, how to hide anger with a laugh. They don't know your story, but they copy your limp. They think it's elegant. You let them believe that. In your spare moments, few as they are, you stitch a small sash, pale yellow, tiny embroidery, nothing elaborate. You say it's for a cousin's child. No one questions it. One girl compliments the stitching. You fold it into your chest box where no one else sees. At night, your duties resume. A client asks for you. Not Goto. A new one. Younger. Polite. He requests poetry. You decline the sake. He accepts it. You play the shamisen. He claps quietly. He says you move like a cloud with a secret. You smile. You do not invite him back. The house mother notes it. She frowns. You are expected to entertain, but you are not expected to choose. You wonder how long you'll be given this softness. How long before your full schedule returns? How long before you must wear the 12-pound wig again? 1 week later, Goto returns. He says nothing about your absence. He brings a different incense this time, one with plum blossom and ash bark. You ask about his shop. He tells you they've begun shipping downriver. He mentions his brother's son has fallen ill. He leaves early. The next morning, the girl 2 rooms down is gone. Her futon is folded. Her mirror wiped clean. No trace remains. You see the boy with the cart again. He passes by the back alley. You watch from the shadows. Historians still struggle with this part of courtesan life. There are no documents outlining maternity leave, yet oral accounts suggest girls were often assigned quieter duties during recovery, an attempt perhaps to protect their value, or to minimize attention. What is known, the brothel ledger makes note of your earnings, your room, your customer hours. It does not mention childbirth. Even as your body heals, your mind does not. Sometimes in the quiet hours you remember the midwife's hands, the way she muttered, the sound of cloth tearing, the weight of the baby against your skin. You remember the chime of the bell as the door closed behind them. You wake before the house bell most mornings. You sweep the hallway twice. You light the incense before anyone else is up. You no longer cry, not even in sleep. One evening, the girl you mentor asks if the wind always sounds like voices. You nod. You tell her it does. She doesn't ask anything else. Soon you'll return fully. The robe, the makeup, the smile. But for now, you exist in between. Not a courtesan, not a mother, just motion. The wind picks up outside. A lantern flickers. You sip your tea slowly. A bell rings downstairs. Another client. Another evening. You stand. The evening begins with soft rain tapping the window frame. You adjust your robe, fold your hands, and step into the corridor. The house smells of sandalwood again. You hear laughter down the hall, another girl entertaining a client, her voice high and polished. Yours will be lower tonight, slower. You've learned that's what draws them closer. Tonight, the client is new, but familiar. You don't know his name, not his real one. No client ever gives that at first. He's middle-aged, well-dressed, polite. He speaks with the tone of someone who isn't used to being questioned. He offers a gift box, small, neat, wrapped in rice paper. Inside a tiny bamboo carving, a monkey holding its child. You place it beside the incense burner. He smiles and says it reminded him of you. You smile too, but carefully. Some clients know, or think they know. They watch you more closely than others. They notice your limp, your changed robes, your slower pace. They put things together in silence. And sometimes they are right. This one doesn't push. He sips tea slowly. He asks if you've ever been to the coast. You lie and say yes. You describe waves you've never seen and salt air you've never smelled. He listens. He nods. He doesn't interrupt. Then he says something strange. He says, "I've raised 2 children. It's not easy." You freeze for a second just in the blink. He doesn't look at you when he says it. Just stares into the steam rising from his teacup. You don't respond. You change the subject. You recite a verse about snow on pine branches. He nods again. You're not sure if he meant to say it, or if it was meant for you. Some clients become attached, but not in the way most people think. They aren't in love. They are lonely. And you sitting across from them in painted silence become a reflection of the thing they miss most. A daughter they disappointed. A wife they lost. A sister who won't speak to them anymore. And sometimes a child they never claimed. These men sometimes bring gifts that don't fit. Toys. Hairpins for girls too young to wear them. Carvings. Pouches of sweets. You accept them all. You bow. You place them behind the screen. Later, you burn the wrappings. You keep the rest. Or you give them to the younger girls. Some men visit once and never return. Others return too often. One such client came every 3rd night for months. Always the same tea. Always the same poem. Then one evening he simply didn't appear. You never heard what happened. But a week later a folded letter arrived. Inside, pressed between paper, was a baby's sandal. No words. You burned the letter in the courtyard. Another man, wealthy, older, very quiet, once bought out a courtesan after she delivered a child. But he didn't marry her. He set her up in a small house on the edge of town, paid for her food, hired a nursemaid, never visited. She lived quietly for years. Then one day the money stopped. No explanation. She returned to the brothel, older, thinner. Her child had been placed in the temple orphanage. She never spoke of him again. You've seen it too many times to believe in rescue. Still, some clients try. They whisper promises. They leave coins. They talk of escape. One even offered you land. You laughed. Not cruelly, just softly. He didn't mention it again. Historians still question how often fathers claimed their children from the courtesan's world. Some say it was rare. Others suggest it happened in quiet, unofficial ways, an agreement, a favor, a lie told in the right ear. There is no agreement among scholars. No records survive. But the memories do. Tonight, the client asks if you like children. You answer, "I like quiet ones." He laughs. You pour more tea. You guide the conversation back to poetry, then to weather, then to trade routes along the coast. You play the shamisen softly. He closes his eyes. When he leaves, he bows twice. Once to you. Once to the child he didn't ask about. You fold the robe over your knees and sit in silence for a while. Outside, the rain has stopped. The lantern light flickers. In the hallway, a younger girl rushes past giggling. Someone scolds her. You hear sandals approaching. The house mother appears. She carries a scroll. "You're booked tomorrow," she says. You nod. By a merchant from Osaka. He's new. Be sharp. You nod again. She leaves. You look at the carving of the monkey. You tuck it into your sleeve. You know better than to leave it visible. In the days that follow, you entertain more clients. Some bring nothing. Some bring too much. One asks about your past. You smile and quote a line from a play. The past is dust that lives behind closed screens. He doesn't ask again. You keep moving. One night, weeks later, you find a package outside your door. No note, no signature. Inside, a child's kimono. Yellow silk, tiny cranes embroidered on the sleeves. You press the fabric to your cheek. Then you fold it neatly. You place it in your chest box and say nothing to anyone. The rain returns before dawn. You rise early as always, moving through the half-dark hallway like mist between walls. The house creaks with settling wood and muffled footsteps. You press your palms together. Bow once toward the corner shrine. Then begin your routine. The robe, the tea, the long silence. You no longer perform every night. The house rotates you in and out now, preserving your value. Customers request you by name more often. Not for romance, not for beauty, but for calm. You've become the quiet one, the one who listens. Some nights, though, you don't want to listen. That's when the thoughts return. The what-ifs, the half-formed memories, the memory of weight, the echo of a cry, a hand that once gripped your finger and then was gone. You push it down. You fold linens. You polish the mirror. You speak little. And sometimes you think about escape. Not often. Not out loud. But the thought arrives small and silent. Other girls have tried. One ran last spring, slipped through the garden gate just before the house bell rang. She made it 3 alleys down before a runner caught her. They brought her back barefoot, her robe soaked. The next day, she was gone. No explanation. Her name erased from the ledger. Her mirror reassigned. Another tried to fake a family visit, sent a letter to a cousin in Nagoya, claimed illness, asked for 2 weeks. She got 3 days, watched the entire time. There are no real exits unless someone pays, and even that is uncertain. Miyuki redemption has strings. A man buys your contract. He pays the house. He removes you from the roster. But freedom is not guaranteed. Sometimes he places you in another city under another name. Sometimes he simply keeps you like a lacquered screen. Hidden, used, forgotten. And if he dies, the contract passes to his heirs. One girl lived 3 years in a merchant's storehouse before being returned. His son didn't want her. She came back thinner, paler. She never retook her rank. You've never tried to leave. Not yet. But you've thought about it. You watch the alley behind the bathhouse sometimes. Study the way the shutters open the distance to the next street. You know where the night guards stand. You know who sleeps deeply, who does not. Still, the risks are high. Even if you make it out, where will you go? The city is closed to girls like you. Your name is known. Your robe marks you. Your scent lingers. You could go to a smaller town. Change your name. Say you were a widow. Take in sewing. Or beg. Or worse. You once heard of a girl who escaped and married a rice farmer. He never asked her past. They had 4 children. She was seen selling vegetables in the market smiling. But no one remembers her name. Maybe it's a story. Maybe not. Another girl took poison instead. She left a note. This is not escape, but it is still ending. The house burned her robe. The customers were told she died of consumption. The room was aired for 3 days, then given to someone else. Historians still debate how common escape really was. Some say girls accepted their fate. Others claim uprisings, fires, mass departures. But no records confirm it, only rumors. Folklore. One folk tale tells of a courtesan who turned into a crane, flew away in the night sky, robe trailing like cloud. The story ends with her feather falling onto the house roof, never to be swept away. You don't believe in feathers, but you do believe in leaving someday. For now you write letters to yourself, on old paper scraps, on rice wrappers, on the backs of customer scrolls. You write lines like, "The gate creaks once before the dawn bell. A cart passes, no one watches. The sandals are near the door. You hide these under the floor mat. Just thoughts, not plans. You continue working. Go to still visits, but less often. His gifts grow smaller. His letters shorter. One day he brings news he is marrying, a cousin's daughter, arranged. He says it gently. You bow. You offer congratulations. You smile with your whole face. After he leaves, you break the monkey carving in half. Another customer arrives, then another. You forget their names, their voices, their incense. One day, a man visits and says nothing for the entire evening, just drinks tea, watches the rain. When he leaves, you find a coin pressed under your teacup. Silver. Rare. You add it to your box. You are saving. Quietly. Not for redemption, not for a buyer, but for departure. When your body begins to ache again, you slow your steps. You feign a cough. The house mother narrows her eyes. You keep working. You know the rhythm now, when to vanish, when to be seen. The younger girls ask you to teach them hair tricks, how to hold the comb without shaking. You show them. You tell them nothing. You hear one whisper your name and say, "She's been here forever." You are 21. Outside, the rain continues. A new girl is assigned the room beside yours. You hear her crying at night. You wait 3 days, then slide a sweet rice cracker under her door. No note. The next day, she leaves a flower in your wash basin. Neither of you speak, but that's how it begins. The quiet alliances, the wordless plans. Not escape, not yet. Just the shape of the idea. You start to see them women who have left the brothel. Not many. And never in groups. But they appear. In alleys. At markets. At temple gates. You recognize them not by name or face, but by how they move. Straight backs. Eyes too quiet. Hands folded in front as if still waiting for someone to speak first. One sits under the eaves of a shrine selling fortunes. Her robe is clean but plain. She ties slips of paper to a pine branch for customers. When she sees you, she bows slightly. You bow back. She does not call out your name. You do not ask hers. Another woman runs a tea shop. She never speaks above a whisper. Her shop smells of sweet beans and barley. She prepares the cups with the same grace used in tea ceremony, each movement deliberate. Her hair is tied simply, now loose and gray at the temples. You once heard she had been an oiran. You don't ask. She doesn't offer. That's the pattern. When courtesans leave, they take little with them. A few coins, a scarf, a habit of silence. Some become teachers of etiquette, of dance, of letter writing. Some train Shinzo girls. Others read fortunes with cards or tea leaves. A few vanish into temple service, shaving their heads and burning their old robes. Some are never seen again. But those who remain nearby are watched. The house doesn't like it when former girls become too visible. It sends the wrong message. They prefer legends, myths about being bought out, about marriage to wealthy merchants, about peaceful retirements in distant villages. Reality is quieter. One woman works at the bathhouse. She scrubs the floor tiles. She wears sandals with holes. But her fingers are still shaped by the way she used to pour tea, precise, soft, downward. A younger girl once pointed her out and asked, "Was she one of us?" The house mother said nothing. You know better now. Leaving the brothel doesn't always mean freedom. It means change. Some women trade painted faces for paper scrolls. They open tiny schools for the daughters of tradesmen, teaching calligraphy and how to sit without wrinkling a robe. Others join traveling troupes playing minor parts in kabuki-made roles, ghost roles, never leads. A few become housekeepers for the very men who once visited them. One such woman served tea to a client for 5 years in Yoshiwara. Then she became his cook in a different city. He introduced her to guests as a distant cousin. She smiled through it, bowed perfectly, said nothing. You hear about her sometimes. Then there are those who remain near the brothel, caretakers, floor sweepers, hairdressers, silent women who no longer wear rouge but who still recognize the signs: a slip in posture, a trembling hand, a makeup line drawn too sharp. One such woman works in your house now. She sharpens the hairpins, repairs cracked sandals, stirs the rice porridge when girls fall ill. She never talks about her past. But you've seen the way she watches the viewing room. She knows what it's like to sit behind the lattice. You asked her once if she missed it. She answered by adjusting your collar, then walked away. Historians debate what options were truly available to women after brothel life. Official records list few pathways: marriage, temple service, anonymous labor. But oral history suggests more: quiet roles, informal jobs, positions that required no explanation but much understanding. The girls talk among themselves. They say, "Maybe I'll teach dance. Maybe I'll marry an old carpenter. Maybe I'll live with my sister in the hills." Most don't believe their own words, but speaking them keeps the idea alive. You begin to save more, not openly, just a few coins tucked into your chest box, folded cloth, a strip of red silk, a single hair ornament you've kept too long. You consider writing a letter to someone far away. You don't. The past is thin here, like ink on old paper, too easy to smudge. too risky to preserve. You think of the girl who left last year, the one who sang lullabies in her sleep. She had a soft laugh. She once told you, "When I leave, I will never speak this name again." You don't know where she went, but part of you believes she did it. Maybe she scrubs floors. Maybe she makes tea. Maybe she stands outside the shrine gate with a bundle of dried herbs and a line of customers waiting. You decide that's enough. Tonight you play music for a client who never stops talking. He chews sesame cakes too loudly. His robe is new, but his manners are not. You smile. You refill his cup. You breathe through your teeth. After he leaves, you light a stick of incense and stand by the window. You don't watch the alley anymore. You watch the sky. The stars look the same as they did before, but tonight they seem closer. You fold your robe. You place a coin in the wooden box. You sleep without dreams. The cough begins as a tickle. Harmless at first. A sharp breath during tea. A short burst of sound behind a fan. You hide it easily. Press your fingers to your lips. Smile. Excuse yourself politely. But then it grows. In the mornings, your chest feels tight. Your back aches more. The weight of the wig pulls on your scalp. You try to walk slowly to conserve breath, but stairs leave you winded. One evening after serving a client, you nearly faint in the corridor. The house mother notices. She says nothing. But the next morning, you're assigned to kitchen duty. No appointments for 3 days. That's how it begins. You're not the first. Courtesans are vulnerable. Their world is closed, their contact constant. Illness spreads quietly. A single cough and others follow. The makeup hides pallor. The robes conceal the thinness. The slow decline is often mistaken for elegance. You try remedies. Licorice root, ginger tea. A poultice made from steamed yuzu peel. You sip from lacquered bowls passed down from older girls. A dried orange wrapped in silk is placed under your pillow. You wear it like a charm. The symptoms remain. One girl offers mercury paste. You hesitate. But you've heard the stories. Courtesans coated in silver shine, eyes too bright, hands trembling after every meal. They believed it could cure infections, cleanse the blood, prolong beauty. They paid dearly for it. You refuse. Instead, you visit the back alley woman. The same midwife from before. She examines your tongue, listens to your breath. She says, "Too thin, too tired." She mixes a powder of ground bark and dried plum. "You'll feel worse before you feel better," she warns. She's right. For 3 days you sweat through your robe. The fever rises. You cannot eat. You dream of falling through water. Faces you've forgotten float past you in the dark. When you wake, your pillow is soaked. Your chest rattles when you breathe. But you survive. Barely. The house allows you 1 more day in the sick room. Then you are returned. The makeup resumes. The wig, the sandals, the incense, the bells. But your strength is not the same. You walk slower. You forget things. You drop a cup once and are fined. Another girl helps you dress, saying nothing. She knows. You've helped others before. There's no formal infirmary. No nurse. Just old remedies and borrowed strength. The house provides what it must, but only as long as you're useful. One girl was sent away last season. Her legs swelled. Her cough deepened. The house told her she would rest by the river. No one explained. She never returned. You suspect she's buried near the canal. Another girl, Maru, stayed too long. She coughed through her appointments. Clients stopped requesting her. The house demoted her, then reassigned her. Finally, she was told to leave. She vanished without a word. You haven't reached that point. Not yet. You still have clients, but they're quieter now. Fewer. One young man visits just to hear you play. He brings sweet cakes and never stays long. He reminds you of a younger brother you never had. His hands shake when he speaks. You play slowly for him. The melodies are softer, lower, less performance, more memory. He listens with eyes closed. When he leaves, he bows twice. You save the sweet cakes and give them to the kitchen girl. In private, you cough into cloth. Dark specks appear. You fold the cloth, wash it secretly. You chew mint to hide the smell. And still, you work. Historians suggest courtesans had access to better care than other women in Edo, Japan. Some records show brothels hired apothecaries or kept dried herbs in storage, but others argue the care was superficial, designed only to preserve appearance, not life. The truth likely sits in between. You've seen girls recover. You've also seen girls vanish. You begin to keep a journal, not of clients, not of dreams, just names. Girls who came, girls who left, a short list written in small strokes hidden behind the frame of your mirror. Some nights you read it aloud in a whisper. Ume, Maru, Hana, Suzu, Rei. Your own name stays unwritten. You're not ready yet, but you begin to prepare. You sort your keepsakes, the bamboo monkey, the yellow kimono scrap, the hair comb with one broken tooth. You write short verses, 3 lines only, folded and placed beneath your pillow. Cough in lantern light, cracked teacup beside window spring passes unseen. The other girls say nothing, but they glance more often. They whisper, not cruelly, just softly. One brings you soup. Another offers to braid your hair. You accept. Because soon you might not be here. And they know it. Your fingers still remember the chords. The shamisen rests lightly against your shoulder. The plectrum glides across the strings. You do not play loudly anymore. Just enough for sound to fill the room to remind your hands they are still capable. Tonight the customer is different. He speaks in short, clipped phrases. He wears his robe too loose. His gaze drifts. But there is something practiced in his posture. He enters as if expecting to be followed. When you pour the tea, he lifts his eyes and holds your glance a moment too long. You've seen this before. He's not a merchant, not a poet, not a farmer playing rich for a night. He's likely samurai. You notice the sign's calloused thumbs, the faint crease on the right hip where a sword's sheath would rest. He bows too shallowly. He speaks with the tone of someone who rarely hears no. But here, even samurai follow rules. He tells you his name is Sato. You know it's not. You smile and offer tea. He does not drink it. Instead, he pulls a folded cloth from his sleeve. Inside a poem. Written in charcoal ink, the strokes sharp and controlled. She moves like soft wind through brocade and shadow paths, unseen by the moon. He waits. You nod politely, folding the poem and setting it aside. This is the dance. He is testing your education. He wants to know if you recognize the rhythm, if you understand allusion, if you appreciate the line breaks. He's not here just for your face. He wants your silence, your memory, your mind. He says he's heard about you, from others. He doesn't say who. You know what that means. Someone has spoken your name in a room where names are bartered. He asks about your health gently. You say little. He nods. You pour more tea. You offer a riddle. He solves it. You compliment his hairline. He smiles. Then he leans forward and asks, "What do you really remember of your first customer?" You pause. That question isn't in the usual script. You answer slowly. Only the sandal he left behind. He chuckles. Not kindly. You've dealt with men like this before, educated but bored, familiar with rules but uninterested in following them. They come for the game, not the girl. Sometimes they are spies, sometimes inspectors, sometimes men tasked with reporting what they see: movements, affiliations, names spoken after sake, and sometimes they are just lonely, but dangerous. You shift your posture. Keep your spine tall, your hands folded. The conversation moves to politics. You do not engage. He presses. He asks what clients you favor. You smile and say, "The ones who arrive on time." He asks if you've met men from Nagasaki, from Kyoto, from Dutch ships. You say only that the sea smells different depending on the wind. He stops asking after that. Later, he offers you a coin wrapped in silk. You accept it. You bow. He leaves without finishing his tea. That night, you unwrap the coin. It's foreign, silver, thicker than a ryo, marked with lines you don't recognize. You burn the silk. You keep the coin. Another evening, a poet arrives. Elderly, stooped. He brings you plum blossoms wrapped in linen. He says your face reminds him of a painting he saw in his youth. He recites a verse with trembling voice. You listen. You pour tea. You thank him. When he falls asleep during your song, you cover his knees with a blanket. Not all men are dangerous. Some are just fading. Another customer visits under a false name, but you recognize him from prints. A court official, known for banning kabuki plays. Now here, seeking silence, seeking forgetfulness. You do not mention his real name. You serve him as you would anyone else. He leaves a lacquered fan behind. You return it. He bows low. The next day you receive a tray of persimmons. You offer them to the kitchen girl. Among courtesans, tales of customers pass like wind. Not openly, but through subtle remarks. The way a name is written, the manner of a bow. Some girls keep journals, lists, symbols to remember who tipped well, who spoke too freely, who returned. You don't keep a list, but you remember the ones who watched your hands too closely, and the ones who watched your eyes and said nothing. Historians still wonder how much courtesans knew about politics, about trade, about the private lives of powerful men. Some argue that courtesans were informants, passing secrets to brothel owners, to government agents, to rivals. Others say they knew but said nothing. Silence was its own currency. You believe both. Information flows like sake. Your role is to hold the cup steady. One evening a man arrives wearing the wrong robe. Too simple. His speech too refined. You recognize the contradiction. He claims to be a cloth merchant. But you notice the ink stain on his palm, the kind from writing notations, not measuring fabric. He asks about another courtesan, one who left. You shrug. I only remember those who remain. He watches you carefully. He leaves quickly. The next day his name is removed from the ledger. The house knows, and you know too. In the end, not all clients are who they seem, but neither are you. You have become a keeper of stories, not by choice, but by practice. Each voice, each gift, each riddle, each poem, you remember them all. You just don't repeat them. That is the true art. The paper door slides shut with a soft click. You kneel alone again. The incense has burned down to a thin thread of smoke. The tea is cold. The fan he left behind is still folded on the tray. You wait exactly 1 minute before standing. Timing is part of the performance. You walk to the window, check the garden stones, realign one. The symmetry must remain intact. Every line of your world is part of a stage, and you are never off it, not even when no one is watching. Because someone always is. The art of illusion begins early. You remember the first time you learned to sit with your shoulders turned slightly toward the door, to appear inviting, but not eager. The house mother showed you how to tilt your head when laughing so your painted lips always curved at the correct angle. You were 12. At 13, you learned to pause before speaking one full breath, no more. Enough to seem thoughtful, not enough to seem hesitant. At 15, they tied your obi in the front for the first time. A signal, not of modesty, but of availability. You couldn't walk that day. The fabric was too stiff, the shoes too high. You cried, only once. The makeup cracked at the edge of your cheek. You were punished. You never cried again while painted. Now every gesture is trained, measured, crafted. You know how to walk into a room and become sadness, how to fold a fan with a story behind it, how to pour tea with the weight of memory. The clients believe you are art, a living scroll, a poem that breathes. They're not wrong, but they don't understand what it costs. The hours spent rehearsing glances, the repetition of sorrow in your posture, the careful construction of silence. Your sadness isn't always real, but the performance of it is. One girl lost her voice from whispering too often. The house doctor told her to rest. The house mother told her to hum instead. She performed for a month with only her eyes and the motion of her fingers. Clients said she had never been more beautiful. Another girl learned how to faint on command. She would collapse gently, never stiff, always sideways, like a falling flower. One night, she collapsed too hard and bruised her hip. The house mother scolded her for poor posture. You still remember the sound of her landing. That was 5 winters ago. You saw her again last week. She was entertaining a new client, laughing gently behind her fan. The bruise is long gone. The memory isn't. You pass by mirrors and barely glance now. You know what you look like. The powder, the lips, the red shadow beneath your eyes. You do not check for beauty. You check for consistency. In this house, you are a story being retold. Always the same arc. Desire, distance, restraint, reveal, goodbye. The words change. The characters change. But the rhythm remains. Clients arrive with questions they want you to answer with emotion, not fact. Do you dream of leaving? Do you believe in love? Do you remember me when I'm gone? You answer each one with a look, a pause, a sigh. You tell them what they want to hear, but never the whole truth. Not because you're hiding it, but because the illusion is more valuable than honesty. Honesty has no price. But the illusion can be bought again and again. A poet once asked to paint you. You agreed. He sat for hours watching you do nothing. You poured tea. You gazed at the lantern. You adjusted your hairpin. He said, I want to capture your essence. You said you already have. He laughed. The next day, he returned with a scroll, a brush painting, sparse elegant. It showed an empty teacup, a falling flower petal, and the silhouette of a woman walking away. He titled it, What Cannot Be Kept. You keep it in your chest box, folded carefully, not because it is you, but because it is close. Historians sometimes refer to courtesans as professional melancholists. The phrase is clumsy, but not wrong. You've spent years learning how to feel without showing, to show without revealing, to reveal without losing anything. One girl used to practice weeping in the mirror. No tears, just the right shape of her mouth, the quiver in her lashes. She once convinced a client she was grieving her sister. She never had a sister. But he gave her a gold comb in sympathy. She kept it. You remember practicing your smile in a bowl of water, watching the ripples shift your expression, learning how to hold your face even when your back ached, when your stomach turned, when your hands trembled. Now you don't need water. You know what you are. And what you are is convincing. Sometimes at night you speak aloud to the walls, just a line or two, a poem, a phrase, a name you haven't said in months. You do it not to remember, but to keep your voice human. Because during the day, your voice is not yours. It belongs to the character. The woman who listens but does not speak first. Who smiles without teeth, who laughs in 2 measured syllables. You fold your robe, brush the tatami clean, and rehearse again. The bell rings. You glide down the corridor. Another night, another scene. You open the door, and become her once more. The paper fan opens with a flick of your wrist. The room smells of crushed sandalwood and smoke. You sit across from the customer's spine, tall gaze lowered. He watches you closely, not hungrily, not affectionately, critically, as if measuring something invisible. You've met his type before. The observer. He speaks in circles, asks questions with double meanings. His compliments are precise. He notices details, the stitch in your hem, the tremble in your little finger, the exact placement of your tea bowl. He compliments the curve of your neck, not for beauty, but to see how you respond. He wants control. You've been trained for men like this. You answer in metaphor. When he asks how long you've worked, you say, "As long as the bell has rung and the lanterns have burned." When he asks where you were born, you reply, "Where river mist meets cedar branches." He smiles, but he doesn't blink. You've been taught to disarm without resistance, not with softness, with power hidden beneath softness. You use silence as a blade. You let him lean too close, then pull back just an inch. Not enough to insult, just enough to make him chase. The game has begun. Other clients want affection. This one wants surrender. So you give him the shape of surrender, nothing more. You offer him the illusion of control. You pretend to fumble with your sleeve ribbon. Let your eyes wander for a beat too long. You ask a question and then apologize for asking. He feels large, important, insightful. But inside, you are counting. 3 beats for the tea, 5 seconds to refill. 2 glances before folding the fan. You are directing the scene. Some girls study this performance like a discipline. One used grief as a weapon. She would tell a client about her dead brother, then pause, let tears well look away. The story changed nightly. Sometimes it was a fever, sometimes drowning, but always a brother. Always a loss. Clients gave her gifts, coins, poems, even promises. She never had a brother, but her drawer overflowed. Another girl perfected jealousy. She'd hint at other customers, make one feel special by comparing him to another. Carefully, subtly, just enough to ignite desire, never enough to provoke anger. She wore green often, told clients it was the color of memory. She became the most requested girl that winter. You never copied their techniques, but you remembered them. Because in the pleasure district, femininity is studied, honed, weaponized. It isn't about beauty. It's about effect. Even fainting is an art. You once practiced falling onto cushions without bruising. The house mother taught you how to lean slightly. Rightward release tension in the knees. Close the eyes after landing. She said, "Collapse like silk, not like stone." The customer tonight keeps leaning closer. He asks, "Do you ever fall in love with your clients?" You say, "Sometimes I dream of falling." It's not an answer, but it's what he wanted. He offers to walk you through the garden after your time ends. You smile, then glance toward the incense clock. "The rain is too close," you whisper. He nods. He leaves. You stay. Your fan folds with a soft snap. Another scene complete. In the corridor, you pass 2 younger girls. They giggle too loudly. Their makeup is smudged. One clutches a letter folded into a crane. You straighten her collar. She blushes. She still believes in the act. You've grown past belief. Now it's a practice. Each movement, each phrase, each sigh. Some girls enter the district with softness, some with fire. You arrived with questions. You've stayed with control. Even your silences have weight now. The house mother notices. She assigns you to more delicate clients, ones known to test boundaries. You manage them without raising your voice. You place their gifts where they can see them. You pour their tea just slightly warmer than requested. They feel attended to, understood, seen. You never show your exhaustion, Only once you stumbled in the corridor. Just briefly. One knee buckled. A client caught your elbow. You bowed. You thanked him. That night you soaked your leg in hot water for an hour. No one else knew. Historians write that courtesans were experts in manipulation. They argue whether these skills were taught or intuitive, whether the women were victims of a system or masters within it. The answer is blurred. It changes depending on the night, the customer, the cough in your lungs, the ache in your spine, the coin left behind. Tonight you add one more coin to your box. You unfold a strip of paper. Write one line. He asked for surrender. I gave him pause. You fold it. Place it beside your other notes. You think of the girls who used laughter, who used silence, who used fear. You've used them all. You've survived. You stand smooth your robe, check your shadow in the lantern light, then prepare for the next performance. You hear the shouting before you see the lanterns. Loud voices at the front gate, heavy steps. The house mother hurries down the hallway, scroll in hand, lips pressed thin. A client is being refused. Something has gone wrong. You step back into your room and kneel. The tea tray is ready. The incense is lit. But no one enters. Instead, the murmur swells like rising wind. A screen slams. Then silence. You wait. A few minutes later, the assistant knocks once. No guests tonight, she says. You nod. You don't ask why. The next morning you hear the full story. A client accused a courtesan of theft, claimed a comb was missing. The house refused the claim. He shouted. She stood silent. A neighbor overheard. A constable was summoned. Now she's gone. They say she left by choice. You know better. Whispers ripple through the house. She had no reason to steal. Her clients were loyal. Her room always clean, her fingers steady. But the man had connections, money, standing, and her word counted less. No court was called, no statement written, just removal. You remember the last time you saw her? She was folding a silk sash, humming a lullaby. She smiled when she saw you, tucked the sash into her sleeve. That was 3 nights ago. You place a stick of incense by your window. For her. These events aren't rare. You've seen the process many times. A whisper becomes a record. A rumor becomes evidence. A gesture becomes guilt. Some courtesans have been brought before city courts. Not as plaintiffs, always as defendants. Their names written on scrolls, their voices filtered through screens, if allowed to speak at all. The charges vary: theft, deceit, refusal to serve. In rare cases, injury. But most cases are quiet, internal, handled before they reach the outer world. The house prefers silence. You once saw a girl escorted from the brothel under a hood. No sandals, just bare feet on the stones. She didn't look up. The guard said nothing. She had thrown a lacquer box at a client. He had insulted her mother. The house called it improper conduct. The client called it assault. She never returned. One girl fought back. She was accused of lying to a client, falsifying her background, saying she was from a noble house. A simple offense, normally handled inside. But the man insisted. He had given her gifts. He had written poems. He claimed betrayal. She stood in court behind a screen. She was not allowed to speak directly. A scribe read her words. The client sat openly, arms folded, voice loud. She lost. Her contract was sold to a lesser house. Her rank erased. Her name changed. You saw her 2 years later walking in the market. She didn't meet your eyes. Historians debate whether courtesans were protected under the law. Some say the brothel system gave them structure rules, contracts, boundaries. Others argue the structure served only the clients and owners. You believe the law existed, but its reach was uneven. Some girls learned to defend themselves without it. One kept a small knife beneath her dressing table. She never used it, just placed it beside her mirror each night. A silent warning. Another girl memorized clients' family names and threatened to write letters, not to shame them, but to create leverage. She kept her status longer than most. You've never needed such things, but you understand them. Your own clients remain quiet, courteous, predictable, but you've seen the mood shift before. A missed bow, a delayed smile, a spilled drink. Small mistakes remembered long. You practice every movement now. Even your laughter is rehearsed. You let it ring no longer than 3 heartbeats. You never show teeth. You never raise your voice. You write fewer verses. You keep your opinions folded. When a client insists you misquoted a poem, you nod. You recite his version. You smile. It is easier. One girl once said, "Survival is the space between the first word and the last sip." You understood that only after 3 years. Now it makes sense. You drink slowly. You listen always. You wait. Because one wrong word becomes a scroll, and a scroll becomes a sentence. One evening a constable arrives at the house. He doesn't look at you, just speaks to the house mother. He's young, nervous. He holds a scroll in both hands. He leaves in silence. The house mother walks back slowly, eyes on the floor. She doesn't speak for the rest of the night. The next day your appointments are canceled. Nothing is explained, but you feel the shift. In the garden, you fold a paper crane. Place it beneath the pine tree. You think of the girl who hummed lullabies, of the girl who walked barefoot, of the girl who lost her name. You whisper. Their voices pass through bamboo screens and lacquered walls, still not loud enough. Then you fold the paper again and return to your room. The paper doors open more easily now. The hinges creak less. You've stopped noticing the sound of your sandals on the hallway floor. Even the rhythm of bells, incense, and footsteps blends into background noise. You have become a still figure in a world of rehearsed movement. But something is changing. It begins slowly. Foreign sounds in the street, metal wheels, heavy boots, loud voices speaking syllables that do not bend like yours. You look out from the edge of the veranda and see them, men with wide hats, pale faces, polished shoes. Foreigners. The other girls notice too. Some are curious. Some frightened. A few are excited, eager for change, for new customers, for different gifts. The house mother says nothing, but her walks become longer, her ledger tighter, more frequent checks, more whispers behind closed doors. The city is changing. So is your world. One day, you are told to pose for a painting, not a portrait, a souvenir. You are instructed to stand beside a folding screen, holding a fan, eyes lowered. The artist is foreign. He wears a cravat. He speaks through a translator. He asks you to tilt your chin. He sketches with quick lines. He smiles. You do not. He leaves you a gift, a coin you've never seen before, and a wrapped sweet that tastes like nothing you know. A week later, your likeness appears in the market on a card. Mass-produced, sold in stacks. The name printed beneath is not yours. It says, Blossom Woman of Edo. The customers begin to change. More foreigners arrive. Some speak a little Japanese. Most do not. They gesture, point, smile too wide, bow too shallow. They come with translators or guides. The house assigns only the most adaptable girls to them. You are one of them, because you speak less and listen more. Your first foreign client smells of tobacco and citrus. He brings a silver box of sweets. He laughs loudly, gestures to your robe, says beautiful several times. You nod. You serve tea. He does not drink it. He prefers wine. You've never served wine before. The house has ordered bottles, Western glass, corks, cups with stems. You learn quickly. You pour. He talks. His voice rises and falls in a pattern you don't understand. He tells stories about ships, about home, about machines. You catch fragments through the translator. You smile when he smiles. You laugh when he laughs. When he touches your hand, you freeze, just for a second. He doesn't notice. The next morning, you burn a stick of cedar incense to clear the room. The smell of tobacco lingers. Another client brings a box of chocolates. Another shows you a book with pictures of cities made of stone and smoke. He points to a building and says, "My home." You nod, though you do not understand the shape of it. Too many windows. No tatami. The girls begin to change their clothing. Only slightly. Brighter ribbons. More exposed collars. Some wear pearls. A few paint their lips darker, mimic foreign styles. The house encourages it. One girl learns to say hello in English. She repeats it often. The foreigners like it. You do not speak, but you listen more carefully, and you begin to wonder what they see. Not you, but the house, the streets, the robes, the illusion. They take pictures. They sketch. They write notes. They turn you into images to carry home. No longer courtesans, now curiosities. One man asks you to pose holding a parasol and standing beside a child. He says it's for authenticity. The child doesn't speak. She's from another house. Her eyes do not move. You accept the coin. You fold the robe. You do not look at the drawing. The house begins offering new services, Western meals, French perfume, lessons in how to walk differently. One girl learns to dance in the Western style. Another tries to learn a foreign song. She fails. The sound doesn't fit. You stay with the old forms, but fewer men ask for them. The house mothers argue. You hear them late at night. Words like transition, modernize, adapt. One says, if we don't, they'll stop coming. Another says, we've already lost what we were. No one answers. Historians note that the arrival of Westerners brought rapid transformation to the pleasure districts. Courtesans became subjects of fascination painted onto scrolls, printed onto cards. photographed, posed, preserved, but not respected. You are asked to attend a Western-style party. The lamps are glass. The floor is polished wood. The music comes from a metal box. The food is cold. The wine burns. The guests are loud. You smile. You pour. You retreat. When it ends, you return to your room. You wash the scent of cologne from your hands. You rebraid your hair. You write a verse. Glass eyes in shadow taste the old world through paper. Forget its true name. You fold it. Place it with the others. You still have your coin box, still have your robe, but the world outside your window has shifted. The gate no longer creaks the same. The stars feel further. The lanterns flicker uncertainly. You kneel. You listen. You wait. The lights along the street are dimmer now. Some no longer glow at all. The paper shades sag from moisture. The wind carries strange smells, metal smoke oil. Soldiers march past the gate at night. Boots where there used to be sandals. Barked commands where once there was laughter. Your world is shrinking. Curfews begin. Notice is posted at the entrance to the pleasure district written in red ink. Foreign languages alongside Japanese. A bell rings earlier each night. Customers are told to leave by dusk. Girls are told to stay indoors. Appointments are canceled. The house becomes quiet. Meals grow smaller. No more pickled plum. No more rice cakes. You sip thin porridge, eat dried roots, chew without speaking. The cook says flour is hard to find. The tea has changed. Bitterer, less fragrant. One day, a customer arrives in uniform. He wears a badge on his sleeve. Not a foreigner. A Japanese officer. He bows low, but his voice is hard. He orders tea without eye contact. He doesn't remove his boots. The house mother does not protest. He asks no questions. He expects silence. You serve him quickly. He leaves quickly. Afterward, the floor is scrubbed twice. Another girl tells you that her client wore gloves, said nothing, handed her a coin and sat watching her fold paper for an hour, then left. No words. War has come. It's not declared here, not spoken, but it arrives anyway in ration scrolls and missing customers in boarded-up shop fronts. Even the incense changes. No more cedar, only cheap blends now dusty and sour. One by one the houses close, not permanently at first, just for repairs or restructuring. But you know the signs. Fewer girls, fewer lights. One house sells its silk, another its musical instruments. A third simply vanishes. The gate locked. The nameplate removed. You walk past them during morning errands. Empty verandas. Dust on the steps. Your own house remains but only just. The house. Mother looks older. Her hair uncombed. Her sleeves shorter. She speaks less. Keeps the scrolls locked away. She begins selling odd items, hairpins, mirrors, lacquer trays. She says nothing, but the girls see it. The decline is visible. One day she calls a meeting. 10 girls sit in the common room. The cushions are worn. The lamp flickers. She stands holding a scroll. Some of you will be reassigned. No one asks where. She doesn't say. Your name is not read, but you know it's close. Later that night, one of the reassigned girls slips into your room. She doesn't cry. She folds her robe carefully. She places a comb on your table. For you, she says. You hug her. You never see her again. Clients stop coming entirely by the following week. The house mother tells you to put away your performance robe. You fold it slowly. The wig is wrapped in paper, stored in a wooden box. You tie the cord and place it on the shelf. The tea set is cleaned and dried, left untouched. Your room feels larger, colder. You spend your days sewing sweeping writing verses on paper scraps. At night, the silence presses in. You hear gunshots once far off. Another night, the bell doesn't ring at all. A few girls are sent home. If they have families, you do not. So you stay, in a house that no longer functions. The mirrors are dusted once a week. The viewing room is closed. The incense burner is cold. The sound of sandals in the hallway has vanished. You still light a candle each evening. A ritual even without audience. You write smoke rises and folds over paper dreams once sold. The gate creaks no more. Historians record that during the wars, the pleasure districts declined rapidly. Morality laws were imposed. Curfews enforced. Clients vanished. Many courtesans were relocated to factories, kitchens, or field work. Some volunteered for hospitals. Others disappeared into the city. Very few returned. You once heard of a girl who became a nurse. She said the smell of antiseptic reminded her of perfume. You heard of another who moved inland and sold combs. She carved her name into each one hidden beneath the lacquer. You wonder what name you would use, because this name belongs to the house, and the house is dying. The girl who sleeps next to your room begins coughing. A familiar sound. You bring her soup. Hold her hand. She clutches your sleeve in her sleep. Her fever breaks after 2 days. You never mention it to the house mother. You know it's not worth a record. One day you open your chest box. Inside coins, a fan, a folded robe, the monkey carving, the yellow kimono sash. You pack them. You don't know where you'll go, but you begin walking anyway. The road beyond the gate is wider than you remembered. Empty, too. The rain has stopped, but the sky holds the grayness of unfinished storms. You step past the checkpoint without pause. The guard no longer bothers to record names. His ink brush lies unused, the ledger closed. No one stops you. You carry your box with both hands, wrapped in an old shawl. Nothing valuable enough to draw attention. A comb, a fan, the monkey carving, a coin pouch, a sash folded twice. You don't look back. Behind you the house shutters are drawn, the lanterns long unlit, the bells silent. You walk for hours. The street turns from stone to mud. The scent of iron replaces incense. Crumbling walls, torn banners, rooftops damaged by fire or time. You pass a shuttered tea shop. A paper sign hangs loosely from a splintered frame, closed until further notice. You keep walking. It's not a destination you seek. It's distance. You pass a temple. The gate stands open. A child sweeps the stone path. He glances at you, then returns to his task. You consider stopping, asking. But what would you say? There's nothing to ask for. Further on, you reach a crossroads. An old pine leans against a broken fence. A shrine bell sways in the wind. You step off the main path and sit on a low stone. Your legs ache. The shoes were never meant for travel. You unroll your cloth and count your coins. Not many, but enough for now. A voice interrupts you. Old, gentle. You look up and see a woman. She stands near a clay wall, broom in hand. Her robe is faded but clean, her sleeves tied back, her eyes sharp. "You're from Yoshiwara," she says, not a question. You nod. She sets down the broom. "Hungry you are." She gestures. You follow. Her home is small, tatami worn smooth. The air smells of boiled daikon and ash. She pours tea without asking. Hands you a bowl. Rice, vegetables. Simple. Hot. You eat without speaking. When finished, she asks, "What do you know how to do?" You answer, "Pour tea." Fold cloth. Play shamisen. Recite poetry. Listen. She nods. "Can you clean?" "Yes." "Good." She lets you sleep beside the hearth that night. She doesn't ask your name. You don't ask hers. You stay. You sweep. You tend the stove. You help boil water for the neighbors. You stitch sleeves. You learn to cook rice evenly to balance firewood in winter winds. You sleep on a straw mat. You no longer wear paint. Your fingers forget the weight of the plectrum. Your face softens. One evening you walk past a quiet alley. A boy stands near a lantern post holding a paper bundle. He looks at you. You stop. He asks, "Are you the ghost?" You blink. "What ghost?" "The one they say walks at night dressed in silk looking for a name." You shake your head. "I'm no ghost." He nods, walks away. But later that night, the wind lifts your sleeve. And you wonder. Because in the old district, people speak of hauntings. They say, if you walk near the locked brothel gates after midnight, you may hear music. A fan falling. The scent of perfume, with no source. They say a woman appears pale-faced in a robe stitched with cranes. She walks slowly, always toward the canal, never reaching it. They say she has no feet, and always she disappears before dawn. Historians dismiss such stories. They say they're metaphor, remnants of memory. They call it echoes of the floating world. But those who lived there know better. They know grief lingers. That longing doesn't dissolve. That names forgotten still hum between walls. You once wrote, "The gate creaked once more." I stepped out with borrowed shoes. No name followed me. You never finished the poem. You still hear bells in your dreams. The seasons pass without ceremony. You mark time by the trees. First, the plum blossoms, then the bamboo shoots, then the fireflies, then frost. You no longer count years in clients or appointments or scroll entries. You no longer paint your face white. Your hair is no longer bound in wax and pins. It grows freely now, streaked with silver tied with simple cord. You live simply. You share a small home with the woman who offered you rice. Her name is Neo. You learn this only months after arriving. She teaches you how to boil soybeans without burning them, how to mend sandals, how to predict weather by watching the birds. You tend the hearth. You wash linen in the canal. Some days you sit beneath the pine tree by the shrine and sew tiny cloth dolls. Children come to watch. They giggle when you make the arms too long. You give the dolls away. They call you Miss Crane. They don't know why. You do. One night an old man arrives at the door. He asks for tea. His robe is thin. His hands shake. You serve him. He studies your face. You remind me of someone, he says. You say nothing. After he leaves, Nao places a hand on your shoulder. She doesn't ask who he was. You don't say. The next day you walk to the edge of the woods and gather dry moss for the stove. On your way home, you find a folded paper beside the shrine. It is a print, faded, torn. A courtesan stands beside a lantern. The caption reads, "Oiran of the Lost Gate." You don't recognize the face, but you know the robe. It's yours. You fold the paper and burn it in the hearth that night. Not in anger, just as release. Later in bed, you listen to the wind against the shutters. You remember the sound of sandals in long corridors, the weight of silence before the bell, the way your hands once shook when tying your obi. You remember the child you held, once small, warm, quiet. You remember the name you never wrote down, and still you sleep. In the town nearby, a museum opens. Tourists come to see wax figures dressed in layered silk. They whisper at the painted faces, point at the tall shoes, read placards written by people who never stood behind the lattice. They say, "This is what it was like." But they don't know. What survives is display. What lived was quieter. You once said the performance ends, but the mirror keeps the role long after the lights. You keep that verse folded under your sleeping mat. Your coin box is still hidden behind a loose plank near the hearth. It's lighter now, but you keep it anyway. One morning a girl comes to your door, barely 16. Thin wrists, tired eyes. She says she's seeking work. Anything. You pour her tea. You listen. You see yourself in her years ago. Before the powder. Before the fans. Before the chamber lamps. You give her half your coins. You say, "Start small. But start away from where I did." She bows. Leaves. You return to the stove. Wash the bowl. Hum an old song. Not a performance. Just memory. Nao places dried persimmons on the table. You eat slowly. Outside, the children laugh. Inside, the walls are quiet. The house remains standing. And you, no longer a ghost, no longer a name behind paper screens, are simply a woman with folded hands, a quiet breath, and a life that once burned brighter than any lantern, now softened into ember. And that is enough. The house is still. The lamp burns low. The night wraps around the walls like a warm blanket. Outside, the trees stand quiet. A breeze brushes past the shutters. You lie down slowly, the floor cool beneath your back, your breath steady. There is no more performance, no more powder, no more tea to pour. You close your eyes and the memories pass like shadows, gentle without sharpness. The rooms you once walked, the names you once whispered, the robes you once wore, all drift like petals on still water. You are no longer needed to entertain. You are not expected to smile. Your hands can rest now. Your voice, unused, settles into silence. Far away, a bell might still ring. Someone else might walk those corridors now. But it no longer belongs to you. It no longer asks you to become anyone but who you are in this stillness. The wind quiets. The world narrows. You breathe in. You breathe out. The dreams will come softly now, without rush, without wait. No scripts to recite, no glances to return, just the calm hum of the night, the slow rhythm of a heart that no longer performs. You drift, not backward, not forward, just gently into rest.